wanted to do my first video about personal experiences that I've had with theists. And this isn't necessarily meant to be a wide sweeping statement about all theists, but I wanted to talk about a few of the different kinds of theists that I've encountered. And maybe if you're watching this video and you do believe in God, you can ask yourself which of these categories you fall under. And as far as I'm concerned, there are three types of theists. There would be your emotional theists, your intellectual theists, and your apathetic theists. I guess the first type of theist would be the emotional theist. This is the type of theist that I've been encountering lately, and this is probably the one that has rendered the most frustration for me. I, as an atheist, have a list of things that would make me become a theist. My position is falsifiable. I can say with certainty that if I were presented with, for example, a miracle, something that actually violated the laws of nature and had no other explanation, or if I were presented with a holy book that had no errors or logical fallacies or self-contradictions, I would either seriously look into that religion or I would convert on the spot. Emotional theists don't have such a list. Emotional theists pride themselves on the issue of faith. I will explain the conditions for my giving up my position and ask that they do the same, and they refuse. My faith is unshakable. My faith is everything, and you cannot shake my faith. Somehow this is virtuous. This is promoted within the Christian environment. And I think it's dangerous because it's not a good way of thinking. And it's very much a cult-like behavior. It very much seems like the kind of thing that a cult would encourage. Don't think, just feel. And it's discerning. I think I'll make another video where I go more in depth about my experiences with emotional theists and the frustrations that are involved. The second type of theist that I wanted to talk about was the intellectual theist. And this is the theist that has some knowledge of science, has some knowledge of the natural world, and probably has a list of things that would falsify their position. Now, granted, these are all impossible things. For example, knowledge of the entire known universe, and there being no God. Or they could be things that already exist and they just refuse to acknowledge, such as evidence that God is not necessary. And I've also had people say to me that once science can explain everything without God, they will accept there's no God. Which again is ridiculous. But these Christians are, while they are smart and they are intellectual, they also have a profoundly anti-intellectual attitude. Anyone that tries to speak about science or uses words beyond that of a 10th grade vocabulary, these people are portrayed as elitist, as trying to confuse the rest of the world. And this is really where I start to have a problem. Religious people don't bother me. Anti-intellectuals do. Because it's a dangerous way of thinking. Intelligence is what moves us as a society, as a human society. And to try to deny that, and to try to discourage progress, is dangerous to the entire human race. And so, that's more of what I have a problem with. The third type of theist, the apathetic theist, is really not as much of a danger to himself or others. He's just a hypocrite. I used to be very bothered and very uncomfortable whenever theists would try to proselytize to me. And I'm sure that any atheists who are watching this video can understand where I'm coming from. Because it's kind of unnerving when you're randomly approached by a stranger and asked about something that you've been asked about many times before, and you know where the conversation is going to go, but it happens again anyways. And it just makes you real uncomfortable. But then I started to realize, from the theist perspective, if they don't proselytize to me, then I'm going to hell. They're supposed to believe that anyone who isn't saved is going to hell. If I were walking around every day with the conviction that anyone who didn't believe what I believed would burn for eternity, I would do everything in my power to help these people. And so I can totally understand now when Christians proselytize. Because at least they're demonstrating to me that they really do believe. That they really are serious about what they believe, and that they're not just going through the motions. The apathetic theist, who keeps to themselves and doesn't proselytize, is a hypocrite. They either do not care about others, or they don't really believe. And it's a confusing position because, on the one hand, I'm condemning their being a hypocrite, but at the same time, I would disapprove of the actions that would make them not a hypocrite. So, that's always something that I think requires further thought. But, there you have it, 3 types of Christians. If you feel like you don't fall into any of these categories, I'd be very interested to hear from you, and from anyone else who would have a response to this. Thank you very much.